Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, good afternoon. This is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. An independent economic analyst is calling on the country's leadership to tackle economic and political instability in order to enhance South Sudan's gross domestic product. As South Sudan prepares to mark its 14th independence anniversary on July 9th, some citizens are calling on leaders to correct past mistakes and recommit to the founding vision of the country. And a South Sudanese man has been arrested by police in Omaha, Nebraska State, USA for kidnapping and child abuse. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Baria Johnson, and now the news in detail. An independent economic analyst is calling on the country's leadership to tackle economic and political instability in order to enhance South Sudan's gross domestic product. Stephen Ihudi's remarks came after the International Monetary Fund, IMF, recently ranked South Sudan the world's poorest country by GDP per capita in 2025. The report, published by Visual Capitalist, ranked South Sudan at the bottom of the global list with a per capita GDP of only $251. These conditions are primarily due to economic difficulties caused by conflict, fragile institutions, and inadequate infrastructure development. To reverse these challenges, Ihudi says leaders must diversify the country's economy by investing in other sectors such as agriculture and value addition production. He spoke in an exclusive interview to iRadio from Torit yesterday.
There are a lot of factors. The key driver, political stability, is the key factor here. And then, of course, this oil needs to be diversified. Don't allow it. We have other sectors, investment in agriculture and value addition processing. We have got forest products like the timbers. This can be processed, value added into other products. As we create more jobs, diversification of the economy, we will be able to enhance income. So that means more jobs are created, and then this translated to income. This is translated further into government generates more revenue, and as we go like that, this is how we'll be able to get the economy turning around. But the key drivers have to first address both the economic and political instability of the country. Very, very important.
According to IMF, gross domestic product is a comprehensive measure of the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a country's borders during a specific time period, typically a year. The 2025 ranking showed most of the world's poorest nations remain in sub-Saharan Africa, where inequality and underdevelopment persist despite global growth trends. As South Sudan prepares to mark its 14th independence anniversary on July 9th, some citizens are calling on leaders to correct past mistakes and recommit to the founding vision of the country. They say the promise made by leaders at independence 14 years ago remains unfulfilled and urge a return to the ideals of the late Dr. John Garang Dimabior. Many expressed disappointments with government officials whom they accused of abandoning the liberation movement's vision. The SPLM under Dr. Garang's leadership pledged to rebuild war-torn South Sudan using its resources to promote unity, development and prosperity. In his 2005 speech in Nairobi, Kenya, Dr. Garang spoke of wealth in diversity as a foundation for national cohesion and outlined a vision of using oil revenue to fuel agricultural growth. The SPLM also promised rural development, electrification and bringing services to the people. However, just 2 years after independence and 8 years after Dr. John Garang's death, South Sudan descended into civil war.
العالم بتجنوب السودان لا مهلات وعربات ينظرين وأشياء منهم فوق ببلد بكام المدى كانوا في الماضي لكن دارن كانوا الحكومة عندهم فرصة للقيادات بتاع بلد عندهم فرصة إنهم يستهزئوا أبتاع بتاعهم خلينا يرجعوا لفيزون وياخذوا رسائل بتاع الدكتور جون دارن يعرف إنه بلد متعز شنو يعرف يكون في سلام والاستقرار يا تمنيات للشعب بتاع جنوب السودان.
Another citizen, Batista Armano, echoed the call for unity and peace. He reminded leaders of Pope Francis' visit and the message he brought to South Sudan.
نحن دايرين انه نستقبله بطريقه كويس ونتمنى من قاده بتاعنا انه يرجعوا للمربع الاول لانه لو لا سلم ما في زول بس الاعمار هم مشوا عايزينه بسانسير انا دايرهم يجوا راجعين لانه بسانسير ده ما بيكون كويس داير كلهم يمشوا بسلم كتوه بيمشوا لقدام فكان بتاعنا كده يتوحدوا ويصافوا بعضهم ويعملوا العفو والعافيه وكلهم يقعدوا سوا عشان ما يقدموا لنا بلد اللي قدام يصلوا لنا بر الامان لانه ده امانه في رقبتهم بكره بعد بكره ربنا سبحانه وتعالى بيسالهم انتوا عملتوا شنو؟ انتوا لما كنتوا كذا واديتكم ارض الجميل المبارك والمقدس حتى جاء فيه سيدنا الله يرحمه فوق فانا اتمنى انه بلده مبارك ان شاء الله يرجع بركه بتاعه في محله.
Another Juba resident, James, called for an end to corruption, nepotism, and insecurity as essential steps toward building a prosperous nation.
لأنه حاجات corruption ونعمل حاجات أنا هي كاربو independent بتاعنا لكن لو حاجات كان ما في لو ندار توم ده كان ما تيجي ندار لازم كان قاعدين بجماعة أنا أكيد بلد تجيب السودان ده بتكون جي باراديسو لكن عشان حاجات الناس سنين الدخلوا سكاكين توم بيجوا ويومون يكاربو بلد تجيب السودان ده لكن أنا مرتين تا independent عن بيجاره كلنا وقفوا الفساد وكلنا وقفوا نعمل محلات أنا وكلنا وقفوا كتاب لأنه حاجات ما بيصيروا أيزول أي فرد القامون حاجات بكرة أو سلبيكس one day حاجات كلهم بيجوا عشان بلا بدانا كليروا الكلام وكليش يلو مدينة لريف ما داري ناس بيجوا من الريف وبيجوا لمدينة.
South Sudan declared independence on July 9, 2011, becoming the world's newest nation after decades of civil war between North and South Sudan. On that historic Saturday, tens of thousands took to the streets of Juba and other towns waving flags and chanting freedom. But following years of civil war from 2013 to 18, the capital has largely marked Independence Day in silence, with celebrations mostly limited to the states. It remains unclear whether the national government plans to hold official commemoration this year. A South Sudanese man has been arrested by police in Omaha, Nebraska State, USA, for kidnapping and child abuse. This is according to media report that was published over the weekend in several online media houses in Omaha. According to the police report, Yereno Mayok had returned home in his vehicle with a child that was not his and was intoxicated on Friday last week. Omaha police arrested Mayok for kidnapping and child abuse by intent with no serious injuries after he allegedly showed up to his sober living home intoxicated with a child who was not his. On Friday, police were called to the area of 48th and Urid streets for a disturbance. The report said one of Mayuk's roommates told police that Mayuk claimed the one-year-old was now his before handing the child over and going upstairs to go to sleep. The police report said the one-year-old's mother had just reported the child as being abducted from the area of 12th and Cumming Street. Upon investigation, officers said the mother had gone inside to use the bathroom, and when she returned, she realized she had left the child in her vehicle. Nebraska has recently witnessed various child abuse and kidnapping cases. According to the police, this case involved a local man charged with child abuse and first-degree assault. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. The international medical charity Medicine Sans Frontiers, MSF, reports that more than 50 war-wounded patients from Sudan have been treated at the MSF-supported Reng County Hospital in South Sudan since Friday, 27th June. To cope with the influx, MSF said it has erected 3 medical tents on the side. The organization said in a statement, and I quote, "Our concern grows for the increasing pressure on Reng County Hospital's capacity to manage such patients as the war continues in Sudan." MSF added that critically injured patients are being assessed for possible referral to Juba for advanced care. MSF has been operating in Reng since May 2023, supporting the county hospital and providing services in some of the area's informal settlements. Sudan's civil war, which began over 2 years ago, has killed tens of thousands, displaced more than 13 million people, and triggered what the International Rescue Committee describes as the biggest humanitarian crisis ever recorded. Since the conflict erupted, large numbers of Sudanese have fled to neighboring countries, including South Sudan, which currently hosts around 330,000 Sudanese refugees. The violence has also forced hundreds of thousands of South Sudanese to return home. The newly appointed governor of Warab State, Ambassador Bolwek, has outlined disarmament of armed civilians, improvement of road infrastructure, and increased agricultural productivity as his top priorities. He called on individuals illegally bearing arms to surrender them in line with the state of emergency declared last month by President Salva Kiir. The 6-month state of emergency covering Warab State and Mayom County in Unity State was announced in response to escalating insecurity. Warab has been plagued by persistent inter-clan violence, especially in Tony East and Tony South counties. Between May 28th and 29th, clashes between the Longjang and Jalwao communities in Gyut village resulted in 62 deaths, including 20 women, and left 36 others injured. Just 2 weeks earlier, a similar conflict in Tony East County claimed 4 lives and wounded 16. Meanwhile, cross-border cattle raids between Warab and Mayom County have further fueled tensions. Governor Bolwek pledged to fully exercise the powers granted to him under the emergency decree to restore order and stability. He made the remarks after a courtesy visit to the governor of Central Equatoria State, Rabbi Mujung Emmanuel, in Juba on Monday.
My state has issues of law and order, and I've got an extra powers from our president in form of a state of emergency. So that will be a priority to try and tell people that this is a power that I have to implement, and I need to inform them that the cost will be cheaper if they cooperate to surrender their arms. After surrendering their arms, it is a duty of our republic to protect them. It is a duty of republic to make them productive, give them opportunities for productivity, road connectivity, farming, and small business. I cannot do that alone. That's why, you have been seeing me visiting different places. We need to work hard to upgrade the standard of rural so that they understand their rights and duties, so that we minimize on conflict. We need to work hard to encourage private sector so that competition in public sector is lessened.
And finally, the National Ministry of Health has officially launched oral cholera vaccination campaign in Greater Kapoita, Eastern Equatoria State to curb the spread of the outbreak. The campaign is aiming to curb the spread of the outbreak that has affected tens of thousands across South Sudan. Speaking at the launch event, Kidende Chong, the Director General of Preventive Health Services, said the rollout of the oral cholera vaccination will help bring the outbreak under control and save lives.
As of today, we are here starting the vaccination in Kapoita, but we have completed, Your Excellency, vaccination in 35 counties already, with a coverage that is above 80%. With this today, we believe we are going to put an end to this outbreak. The numbers have started to decline over the last 4 weeks, and the number of deaths have also been declining. So basically, the last week we have recorded across the country less than 900 cases. This is a number we used to record in one state, for example in Unity, which has been the hotspot for this outbreak.
The launch of the vaccination campaign was supported by partners including WHO and UNICEF. Dr. Chong also revealed the cholera vaccination drive has been launched in 35 counties with about 80% vaccinated against the bacterial disease. South Sudan first detected among returnees and refugees who arrived in Ren County, Upper Nile State after the war in neighboring Sudan. Following weeks of surveillance, the health officials said the outbreak was declared of a national outbreak in October. The outbreak has since killed 1,380 people, infected 77,000 others, according to the Ministry of Health. However, official data indicates that more than 96% of the cases have recovered and the number of new infections and deaths has started to decline. You are listening to iRadio News, and now to the regional and international news with Madrama James.
In Sudan, a 19-year-old girl, Babikr Ahmed, says she suffered a miscarriage while fleeing on foot from the war-torn city of Al-Fashoda in Darfur region. Speaking to the BBC, she described walking 70 kilometers under airstrike and dodging militias. According to the way, she picked up carrying a baby found next to his dead mother and carried him to safety. Darfur has been a major flashpoint, with RSF controlling most of the region except for the city Al-Fashoda that has remained in the hands of the army and its allies. Elsewhere, Liberia's former President William Tolbert is set to receive a symbolic burial on Tuesday, 45 years after he was murdered during a coup and his bodyguard believed to be dumped in a mass grave. 10 days after the president's killing, following trials by a kangaroo court, 13 of his cabinet were stripped, tied to stakes and then executed by a firing squad on a bench next to an army barracks in the capital, Monrovia. 9 of the 14 corpses has been found, but each man is due to get a state funeral at a ceremony attended by President Joseph Boakai and other dignitaries. Finally, a heatwave is continuing across Europe, with France, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Germany under heat alerts. Here's the latest picture. In French, a red alert, the highest extreme heat warning in a place across 16 departments, including Paris, where the top of the Eiffel Tower is closed. 2 people have died in Italy as the temperature soared, while 50,000 have been evacuated because of wildfires in western Turkey. Parts of Portugal and Spain recorded their highest ever June temperatures this week as the mercury hit 46 degrees Celsius.
Thank you, Madrama. And now to the sports news with Lasuba Memo.
Thanks, Baria Johnson. In the world of sports, let's begin at home. Al-Merrikh FC Pentia bolstered their squad with the signing of Malian international attacking midfielder Sambi Osman in a move that has sparked excitement among fans and club officials alike. The club confirmed the deal on the official page with the announcement. The 26-year-old midfielder arrives from Pecham United FC in the Ghana Premier League, where he made a name for himself with his technical flair, vision and ability to unlock defenses. Known for his versatility and composure on the ball, Sampi is expected to bring creativity and leadership to Al-Merrikh's midfield. Defending champions Manchester City were knocked out of the Club World Cup at the last 16 stage after being stunned in extra time by Saudi Arabia side Al Hilal in an incredible 7-goal thriller. Pep Guardiola's side had come through the group stages unscathed but failed to reach the quarterfinals after conceding 4 times in the haphazard defensive display. City have been fast starters in this competition, and for the 4th game running, they opened the scoring inside the first 10 minutes. Kati Bolter and Sonny Cattle both produced impressive victories at either end of a record-breaking day for British players at Wimbledon. Former British number 1 Bolter took to centre court in the evening and secured a rare victory over a top 10 player as he beat Spain's Paula Badosa 6-2, 3-6, 6-4. Earlier, Cattell was the first player through from the 14th-strong Greece contingent in action on day one with victory over 20th seed Jelena Ostapenko. That's all in the world of sports. Back to you, Baria Johnson.
Thank you, Lasuba. You're listening to iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again. An independent economic analyst is calling on the country's leadership to tackle economic and political instability in order to enhance South Sudan's gross domestic product. As South Sudan prepares to mark its 14th independence anniversary on July 9th, some citizens are calling on the leaders to correct past mistakes and recommit to the founding vision of the country. And a South Sudanese man has been arrested by police in Omaha, Nebraska State, USA, for kidnapping and child abuse.